and welcome back to the Airshow Room podcast. This week's episode is filled with lots of really, really cool announcements, including RIAT keeping on top of their steam train-like effect flying through the current updates with so many different cool things. And we have so many different things to talk about those shows, including things like Cosford and maybe some French people that are going to be there. My name is Dan. I am your host. And joining me are my two co-hosts, Harry.
Hello.
And Chloe.
Hello.
We have a lot to talk about, so I think we're going to get straight into it and start with, obviously, for some reason we always start with this, but that's because the announcement's really, really cool. So we're going to start with RIAT. They have had 2 more weeks of announcements since we last recorded a podcast episode. Since we got my point for getting the German Tornado in the flying display. Thank you very much, as I'm scowled at for saying that. But yeah, it has been one heck of a week. And probably to say some Turkish delight, I would say, in some of the updates that we've had. Joining the flying display, we'll start with the flying display. We had the RAF's display participation, which I'm sure we can talk about the absence of something, or should I say 9 very red somethings. We had the RAF Typhoon announce and the Battle of Britain Memorial flight announce for the show. They'll be flying the Dakota as their main aircraft this year, as Lancaster is in long-term maintenance, with a Spitfire and a Hurricane joining each wing for the show. Also on that, we had this week the Turkish Air Force announce going on, which we had the Turkish Stars joining the flying display as well, and the Swedish Gripen. So let's get into these things then. We've already talked about the RAF Typhoon and stuff on the podcast. We've already talked about the BBMF, so I'm going to go straight to the Turkish Stars, as they, for me, are my highlight of the show. And I don't know about anyone else, but that is like the one thing I've been talking about. Turkish Stars. It fits the fighter theme with being F5s, and it's kind of nice to have them back in the UK for a long period of time.
Yeah, you did call it the other week off podcast.
I was saying that we were going through things. We were like saying, "Oh, what could this be? What could this be?" Because we were actually talking about the prospect of not having an F-16. And I said that probably one of the F-16s you could get is a Turkish one, but I would prefer seeing the Turkish Stars because that would be something that I really want to see.
Yeah, because we've seen the solo tape before, so it's a nice change up from that. As much as a lot of people are disappointed they're not going to see the solo Turks this year.
Yeah, and it's the first time we're going to have seen the Turkish Stars in the UK since 2010, which was the last Waddington appearance, and the last appearance by a technicality was 2008 at RIAT, but that was the year that it washed out, so they didn't actually get to display over the weekend. So their last RIAT appearance by flying in the public display was 1997, so a long, long time ago. Harry, you appreciate lots of different older fighter aircraft. These are really, really, really old F5s, which I believe came from a United States Air Force order. And also, they got given for free from the old Dutch Air Force.
Yeah, as I said, I always appreciate old aircraft. I did not know the fact that if that is true, that they were given for free. I would wonder why that would be the case. Maybe it was just, I would say it's surplus, but normally surplus is purchased. So
I did do a bit of digging. I couldn't find why they were given for free, because normally, obviously, unless you're in times of war, like I guess with the Ukraine war and stuff, with countries sending free items. Normally you don't. Normally you sell them on. So yeah, they were apparently given for free.
Yeah, so probably a tax write-off or something.
I mean, you can't claim that the Dutch were fiddling the books as F5s going to Turkey. Come on now.
No, that'd be ridiculous.
Also during the flying display is the Swedish Gripen, which is back from its hiatus from last year when we got the Black Hawk on the flying display. This year it's back. And we'll be also getting another Gripen on Saturday display, which we'll talk about in a bit. This Gripen will be coming from Fighter Squadron 7, and I believe is a new display pilot this year, but I can't remember what his name is. Am I right in that?
I couldn't find who the pilot was.
Oh, well. So yeah, we got the Gripen back, which now takes our fighter numbers up to 5 now. So that would be what? 2 Typhoons, a Tornado, an F-18 and a Gripen, 5.
Yeah.
Pending also another F-18 from the Spanish Air Force.
Yeah.
So pretty good additions to the flying display. Just off podcast before we actually recorded, we did compare and have a look at the announcements to last year to this year, because at the start of this year there was a bit of like it's a bit quiet for announcements. They didn't announce a lot. We had that 1 week where we had just the Finnish F-18, and then it was just the Jordanian Falcons 1 week with a couple of statics. But just to compare, for those of you that are interested, we were about 10 aircraft off where we were last year this time. Personally, I don't know what other people think, but personally, it's a better flying display so far.
Yeah, they're definitely making up, especially for the lack of the red arrows this year. They're making up with it.
Well, yeah, that's one thing we haven't talked about. There's a lack of some red pointy things. That's the red arrows that did not confirm with the rest of the RAF contingency.
Yep, and that just shows that the American rumour is probably more likely true now that they've not confirmed.
Yeah, look, we still are waiting for the Red Arrows to confirm their schedule. They haven't confirmed their schedule with all the other RAF assets.
Which is a bit weird because they usually do it around the same time.
They do. The only thing that's been noted by anyone that I've seen online is that they've removed their 2025 schedule from the website, but that's it. That's all that's been seen. So we'll see what happens with the Red Arrows, and when we get back to you with that and it's fully confirmed, we'll obviously have another discussion on that later at the time. So that's the flying display. Obviously, we've briefly brushed over the RAF Typhoon and the Battle of Britain Memorial flight, but I'm sure we're going to talk about their aircraft at some other points down the road, and we've already talked about them in previous podcasts. The static display has had one hell of a bumper lineup to the static display. I'd say that there are some absolute gems on the static display. Wouldn't you, Harry?
Yes, I'd very much say there is a gem, and this is one I'm just going to start straight into this because I can't really hold it back any longer. They have confirmed that a MiG-15 will be making its debut on the static display at RIAT 2026, and you might not know this, but I really do like the MiG-15. Like I may have mentioned it on a few occasions.
We would never have guessed, Harry.
No, but no, in all seriousness, I am beyond excited that a MiG-15 will be on the status. But this is one of my favourite Cold War aircraft, and if based on what we've been provided, this will be the Polish variant, which was Polish produced.
Yeah, the Lim 2.
Lim 2, which is I'm very excited. Just any because there were so many of these produced, so many different variants.
Yeah, so this one is owned by Fubar Aviation. So they're the same people that if people are keeping up the MiG-17 that's meant to be flying at Midlands Air Festival. In that announcement as well, RIAT also said that they intend to get the MiG-17 to RIAT, but they are waiting first for its post-restoration flight, which is still yet to happen. But nonetheless, the MiG-15 is definitely going to be one of the highlights of the static display, and I say one of. Because there's something else for me that's a highlight we're going to talk about in a bit. But yeah, having that on having that as part of the fight line, we talked about how we want that chronological order. It adds to that chronological. We've got the Vampire. Your MiG-15 is like one of your other staple.
Yeah,
early fighters.
It's up there with the F-86 Sabre because these two jets would have been just around the same time. Well, just a few facts regarding it. It does have a very interesting NATO reporting name, which I cannot say for fears of. It's a very unfortunate name that's probably not pronounced the way it is, but it's if anyone's interested, they can look it up.
Yeah, I would say so. Because
I do not want to risk saying this.
Yeah.
But in other facts, it's obviously given with the early Cold War at the time. It's a swept-wing jet fighter. It rose to prominence during the Cold War, and it outclassed a lot of it outclassed a lot of Western jet fighters at the time. At least until the Sabre was introduced, where it was they were pretty much rated stalemate. 13,000 examples of this were produced, and it is still in operational service in North Korea in the Korean People's Army Air Force. So it's still being used frontline. But I believe if that's the case, it is still being used as a training aircraft. It was licensed, produced in Poland as the Lim 1, then later the Lim 2. There's still 700,000 examples in service. It wasn't retired until the early 1990s. Is now civilian owned, and as Dan has already said, this particular one is owned by Fubar Aviation, and I just want to give a shout out to them. Thank you so much for bringing this to RIAT 2026. We've got someone here who's very happy to see this.
Yeah, I can comply with that with saying that Harry's very excited to see this. So am I. So is Chloe.
Yeah.
I think seeing when we first got that announcement from Midlands Air Festival that the MiG 17 would be coming to the UK at some point, the RIAT have said in some form they're going to get it. There was a sneak peek put on the RIAT website, but I'm not going to repeat it here to spread information just in case it doesn't happen. But I'd keep an eye out for if they do end up announcing the MiG-17. That's all I'm going to say. And also in the last week as well, Fubar Aviation, the two pilots that will be piloting these jets over the coming airshow season, both have received their CAA authorization to display license, both in solo and formation flying. So they are also ready to come and go and display in the UK now. So fingers crossed that restoration flight just take part soon for the MiG-17, and look forward to seeing that in the flying display, hopefully in a couple of UK shows.
Oh, indeed.
Also, what you could class as another highlight, another later Cold War jet aircraft, adding to the Turkish light we've already had from the Turkish Stars, will be the Turkish Phantom. We're going to have one on the static display again this year, which they had a gap last year, but they're now back this year with one. Well, at least one, as I believe they said that there is a chance we might get two.
Yes, and that's going to be confirmed close to the time, as we don't actually know if they're going to get one or two at the moment.
Yeah.
We just know there's going to be at least one.
At least one.
Yeah, just mentioning on the topic of the Phantom, I would also say this is another iconic Cold War jet fighter, because it does have a very significant profile.
It does, yeah. It's one of the fights that you see and you can instantly recognise what aircraft it is.
Especially from any media or anything related to the Vietnam War, as it was extensively used by the US Air Force, Navy, and the Marine Corps. It was pretty much their main
Yeah, it
main
was
one,
100%.
and lasted all the way up in there, at least for their empire, at least until the 1980s, when it was replaced by the F-15, the F-16, the F-14, and then the F/A-18 Hornet in the US Navy and Marine Corps. So for a good 20-ish years, it was pretty much the staple of American air power.
And this one that we're getting it seems like RIAT have requested it. It's not confirmed yet what airframe we will be getting, but they have requested it not to be one of their traditional operating schemes, is it?
No, they've requested the variant, which is registered 77-0303, which is adorned in a black and red special colour scheme, and I believe it looks like the Turkish flag on top.
Yeah, so it's an all-black Phantom, but it's got a red splash on top.
Yeah.
And then it has the moon and crescent in it with the star to represent the Turkish flag, and it is an absolutely beautiful colour scheme. RIAT have requested them to send that one. They don't know whether or not they will, but that's something to look for. And hopefully that if they do end up sending a pair, we get that one and plus then an operational variant, because then you can see the contrast between the two.
Definitely, because it's a really beautiful scheme when I've looked at it,
Yeah.
if it is that particular one.
They've also said as well that they expect that the Turkish will deploy some support aircraft to the show, but that'll be confirmed later to the time. So look out for that for those of you that will be on arrival days, and we'll see whether or not they actually also turn up and join the static display like the Turkish KC-135 did in 2024 for the F-16 display.
Yes, it's going to be interesting to see what support aircraft we're going to get from them.
I believe in 2008, or it might be in 2010, I can't remember. The Turkish Stars had a support C-130 that was in the same red and white colour scheme as the Turkish Stars. I don't know if that still exists anymore.
I hope it does.
But I know that definitely did exist at some point, so that we could get that if that still exists. If not, hopefully a Turkish C-130 or something like that, because it's always nice to have support aircraft on.
Yeah, and I personally love a C-130.
Yeah.
There's just something about them that just makes them look really nice.
Yeah, so we've mentioned the Swedish Gripen on the flying display. We've also got one on the static display, but different.
Yeah, so the one on static will be a two-seater, which is also coming from F7 wing, and it has similar capabilities to the single-seat variant, just that this variant's used to train pilots to go onto the one-seater. And fun little fact is, Swedish Gripens, both types, and then for the ability to operate from short runways, which includes when there's snow on it as well.
Oh, can they operate from snow?
I believe so. Yeah.
I did not know
Oh.
that. That's really, really cool. I guess though, with the harsher climates, you're going to need that, aren't you? So
Yes, definitely.
that's really, really cool. Also, to add to one of our other themes, so we obviously got the F4 Phantom and the MiG-15 to join the fighter meet. The Red Chipmunk, the Royal Chipmunk, that we've already talked about before, another podcast, that'll be flying at one of the Shuttleworth shows, will also be joining the static display as part of the Royal Flight theme.
Yes, and it'll be static on all 3 days. It's been confirmed it's going to be there from the Friday.
Lovely. As well as I think the MiG-15's on all 3 days as well, isn't it?
Yes, I was just about to mention that actually, that they're static on all 3 days. So yes, that's also another bonus.
So basically, we're going to lose you for 3 days straight, staying at MiG-15.
Yep, pretty much. I'm just going to be there. It's like you won't be able to move.
Also, a couple of weeks ago, we got an announcement from is it Halton Aero Club?
Yes, it is.
And well, not just them, but another other smaller aircraft that will be joining the show. So RIAT like to do this every single year, where we bring the smaller aircraft that you can, it's all well and good seeing an F4 Phantom or an F-35. Most of us, unfortunately, can't go and hop in and start flying an F4 Phantom or an F-35, as much as I'd absolutely love to.
Or a MiG-15.
Or a MiG-15, yeah. However, they are bringing a couple of aircraft from different flying clubs from around the UK to showcase aircraft that you could potentially go and get in and start flying. So there will be a Cessna 152, a Cessna T-41A, which I believe is a Cessna 172, but adorned in US Army or Air Force colours, I believe. And also a Slingsley Nipper, which will be, according to RIAT, probably the smallest aircraft at the show.
Yeah, so going back to the Cessnas first.
Yep.
So the 152 will be adorned in a bright yellow scheme, so it's going to be impossible to miss.
It should contrast nice and well against the grey skies that will probably end up turning over RIAT that weekend.
Definitely. And it's also RIAT regular, so it's nice to see consistent, what's the word?
Consistent participation.
And that's all.
Did it also get to Cosford one year as well? I remember it being at Cosford.
I'm pretty sure they did, yes. And this is also used as a trainer in a good few militaries. I'll just name a couple, just so I don't go on for ages listing them. But the Mexican Navy, Bangladesh Army, and Bolivian Air Force still use them as trainers.
Do they? I didn't know that.
Then moving on to the Cessna T-41A.
Yeah, I wouldn't have to pronounce the actual name because I'm going to butcher it if not.
Messalero, something like that.
Something like that.
That's what it's referred to. So it is over 44,000 of these 4-seat high-wing aircraft have been produced to date. And those 2 versions were produced in France, like you was in the F-172.
Yeah.
And also the FR-172 rocket, which the rocket's basically the same thing, just with a more powerful engine built by Rolls-Royce, which has 30% more horsepower than the standard Lycoming engine that's in the F-172. Yeah. And as you said earlier, it's adorned in the scheme of the US Air Force.
Yeah, it's a nice little Cessna 172 that we've seen it a couple of times before now.
Yes.
I remember it first coming, and it was parked up at the green end, away from like basically everything. So you had to walk really far out of the way to go see it. But more recently, they parked it in the middle, which has been nice to see as well. And obviously, then we've got the Slingsley Nipper, which is my favourite aircraft. One of my favourite aircraft. It's so tiny. It's so cool to see.
And often referred to as a tipsy nipper.
Tipsy Nipper.
Yeah, and hopefully it doesn't end up in the field this year.
Fingers crossed.
Fun little fact, it's becoming a really rare aircraft now, because in 2017 there was just 19 left.
All right.
So it's becoming extremely rare to see, so we need to make the most of it while we can still go and see it.
That's really cool, yeah.
As long as it doesn't end up in the field again.
Yeah.
With high winds. Because they are absolutely tiny.
They are really, really small. If you get a chance to go and meet the crew, bear in mind they'll allow you to have a look around the aircraft. Not that a walk around of the aircraft will take too long. Probably more about 6 steps rather than a walk around. Yeah. It's really, really cool to go see. And I believe last year they had patches made as well. So if you want the patches and you go collecting merchandise, please go and say hi to them. And look around the smallest aircraft that will be at RIAT.
Definitely.
I think that brings us to the end of the RIAT segment. There's been a lot. There's been an absolute lot. And really, really looking forward now to the show. As much as we are only mid-April, It's really starting to come together to be a very diverse show. And the fighter theme that, as I said right at the start when we started doing these podcasts, that it was a risky one, but it could be done well, especially in the current times. It definitely looks like, so far, it's been done really, really well.
Definitely, so far so good, and hopefully Trump calms down close to time so we can get more Middle Eastern
Fingers crossed.
fighters.
Fingers crossed.
Fingers crossed.
But yeah, what a set of additions. Can't wait to see the Turkish Stars, and can't wait to go to RIAT to see some
Mig.
modern military power. The MiG, yeah.
Mig.
And speaking of modern military power, Cosford had some updates over the last couple of weeks, and have announced 2 pointy triangles to join the flying display. One being the Royal Air Force Typhoon, as again, not surprised that we're going to see the Royal Air Force Typhoon, the only Royal Air Force airshow. But also, third time's the charm, the French Rafale is going to make its 3rd attempt in 3 years to come and display at the show. And hopefully this year, for the sake of the Cosford organisers, it does get to display this year.
Because they've had some really bad luck getting that Rafale over the last
Yeah.
couple of years.
So I think one of the years it was meant to come with a Mirage pair, Kotu Delta. It didn't. Then one year it actually got to Mildenhall, where it was meant to be based out of, and then had to go home early.
Yeah.
So they have been really, really unlucky with the displaying of the Rafale at Cosford. But hopefully this year, 3rd time the charm, and we're going to be able to get it flying, as part of the flying display, because they have got a new pilot for this year. So it's not just like the RAF Typhoon, they do rotate through pilots. Instead of every year like the Royal Air Force Typhoon, they rotate on a 2 or 3 year basis. So this new pilot, his call sign is Rocky. It's Alexander Rockel. I probably am butchering that, but his call sign is Rocky. And he'll be taking on the display of the Rafale from 2026 to 2027. So both of those display years. And I believe he is the 9th pilot of the Rafale Solar Display team, which will be really, really cool to see as well.
I'm really hoping it comes because I've never seen a Rafale before.
Yeah, you've been unlucky because the one year that we had the Rafale at RIAT, you didn't come to RIAT. And then we've tried Cosford twice to see the Rafale, and we still haven't seen it.
No.
So fingers crossed for you that you get to see it. It's one hell of a display, and in a smaller airfield like Cosford, it will be a nice sight to see, because I remember a lot of people saying good things about it at Duxford a couple of years ago, and it displayed there. And with it, Duxford being such a small airfield, its presence was felt even more.
Yeah.
And it's one of the most agile fighters you'll see in a flying display ever. The roll rate on it is insane. The tight turns that it can do as well. And the pilots always do really well at using the sort of the 45-degree angles on the flight display line, because it allows you to bring your aircraft around a lot quicker, meaning that the aircraft is in front of you a lot more, which adds a lot more to the flying display as well. So that's really, really cool to see. Also, alongside the 2 flying displays for Cosford then, we've had 2 static display updates with 2 top wing scout aircraft / liaison aircraft that were from World War II, I believe.
Yes.
So we'll start with the L5 Sentinel, which was created, I believe, or first flight in 1940. Might be wrong with that, but yeah.
1941.
1941, cool. Yeah, this was made by the US Air Force as a sort of liaison light aircraft, VIP transport / cargo aircraft that could go in and out of very small / unusable airfields for other aircraft, and served as part of the US Air Force, US Army, US Marine Corps, and the Royal Air Force, with about 3,500 of them being built over time.
Quick little fun fact for it also has a short field takeoff and landing capability.
Yeah, so it's obviously used for those disused and unused airfields, allowing you to be able to basically go in and out of airfields that may have had bombed runways, etc. There's also be able to use grass strips as well.
But it's the only airwave L5 in the UK, and it's owned by Callum Duffy.
Who I believe is also the pilot of it as well.
Yes, he is.
Also during the small liaison aircraft at Cosford of the Saturday display, is going to be a Fairchild Argus, which I believe is also another aircraft that is not very rarely or not very commonly owned within the UK, which served as, again, another communications liaison aircraft for the RAF. So the L5 Sentinel was the sort of US variant of this, where the Argus was ours in the Royal Air Force. So these would be the aircraft that you sort of see doing scouting missions. If you've ever seen the last dogfight display that's been done before between the Grasshopper and I forgot the German aircraft before, it's one of those type of aircraft where it's not armed, it's got no armaments to it at all. You probably only think would have a handgun next to you. And yeah, it's got 4 seats in it, so it can be used as kind of a light transport aircraft if it needed to be, transporting people in and out of places that need to be. But yeah, it's a really cool small little aircraft, and it will join the Saturday display at Cosford and be a nice little addition to be able to walk about and have a look around.
Definitely, I'm looking forward to being able to see it up close.
And it'll join the other lots of light aircraft that we've got, like the Chipmunks, etc., at Cosford, where we can have a gander about, see what it's like, talk to crew, potentially have a look inside. So nice little additions for Cosford. Glad to see that their announcement's starting to sort of push forward now. We said that they needed probably an international participant last week, or a couple of weeks ago, sorry, and they have now got that with the Rafale. We've got obviously the Typhoons. We've got a bit of afterburner power in there, and it's shaping up to be a nice little show. So fingers crossed that the Rafale gets there and everything goes ahead for the show, and look forward to seeing everything that we've just talked about the show in June.
Definitely, it's shaping up to be a nice little show.
So on the topic of then modern and historical aircraft with Cosford's announcements, we'll move on to Buckingham, where they've announced their last 5 flying participants for their show. As they slightly do their announcement a little bit differently, so they announced theirs in blocks of 5. So they go through the different aircraft that they're going to be doing, and they've had again a wide range of aircraft that they've announced, from I guess kind of modern to very modern to some very old aircraft.
Yeah, so just a quick rundown of what they have announced. They've announced the RAF Falcons on both days, the Boeing 727 Saturday only, DA42 Twin Star Saturday only, the BBF Dakota's Sunday only, whilst the BBF Spitfire will be Saturday the 25th only.
So a very diverse array of aircraft.
Definitely.
I think the one that stands out for me, and I don't know about you, it's that Boeing 727 from 2XL Aviation on the Saturday. That aircraft is one of the coolest aircraft I've ever seen. When I was a kid, went plane spotting at Doncaster Airport before it shut down ages ago, and I remember seeing one of those take off, and just its 3 engines screaming down the runway. It's so loud. One of the coolest aircraft as well. And obviously the modified passenger aircraft that have gone from, in these cases, the 2XL Aviation ones are actually modified cargo aircraft that have been turned into these oil spill recovery aircraft where they go out and fight oil spills. And we don't actually hear a lot about any of these oil spills that they go fight, but they are out quite a lot, sorting out oil spills. And honestly, it's just one of the coolest things. So anyone going on a Saturday for the show for that is an absolute brilliant treat for them to see.
Definitely. A few little fun facts about it. They can fly at low altitudes, around 150 foot, in order to disperse the oil. They can reach high speeds, are robust for low-level flying, and can operate from smaller remote airports.
I guess that's quite good then, because obviously if you have oil spills in sort of more remote locations, you can operate out of an airfield that has a lesser runway or less facilities.
Definitely. So it's suited to its purpose really well.
Yeah.
And they're also set to be replaced by 2 Boeing 737-800s in 2028 in order to reduce fuel burn and carbon emissions.
That'd be a sad day when the 727s go, because it is honestly, it's one of the cooler aircraft that sometimes appears on the airshow scene. Because I think it was last year it was meant to go to Duxford, one of the summer air shows, but I think it cancelled in about a week leading up to the show. They always try and get it to 1 or 2 shows. I think the last time I saw it at an air show would have been when Scampton had an air show in like 2017 or 2016. And it did 1 or 2 flybys there where it sprayed water out the back instead of the oil retardant that it uses to get rid of the dispersed oil. So that was really, really cool to see.
And that'd be nice to see, because I was meant to see it last year, but obviously it cancelled at Duxford, so I've still not seen it yet.
Yeah, it's really, really cool.
And then moving on to the Diamond DA42, which will be Saturday only. That had its first flight in 2002 and is flown by Jason Buglas. I think I'm pronouncing that right.
Yeah, Jason Buglas.
Which will be his first year as a display pilot, so it'll be very interesting to see what he does with it.
Absolutely.
And fun little facts that you found out today. So he's been flying for many years, which includes bush flying and flying around Africa. However, he's not actually a full-time pilot. He's a dentist.
Which the registration on his DA42 represents his current day job.
Seeing as it spells out mouth.
Yeah, so for those of you that have not seen potentially, is Diamond DA42. It has the registration Mike Dash Oscar uniform. I forgot what T is, and hotel. So it spells out mouth on the side of the aircraft, which is quite funny.
Yeah,
Yeah, that
so
is
that
really
he goes
funny.
up as a dentist. But it's also one of the. It's we're going to talk about it later as well. It's confirmed for Midlands Air Festival. It's a weird aircraft. It's not an aircraft that you'd think would probably be quite nimble and agile. So for me, it's going to be really interesting to see what it does and what it's like, how nimble it is. Is it going to do
Definitely.
loops? Is it just going to do passes? What's it going to be like?
Especially with it being his first year as a display pilot, it's going to be interesting to see what he incorporates into the display. And if he decides to display it again, how will he improve with it the next year, whether he finds things that he can just push it to the limit to put into a routine.
It's really weird because it's not an aircraft that you would think is agile. It's not an aircraft that you think is, it's used as a training aircraft. They use them as their first step from going from small prop to getting onto your twin engine aircraft, where you then move to then flying your airliners. So it's kind of that middle ground between the two. It's kind of like your Hawk of the Royal Air Force. It's you go from your prefect to your Texan, then to your Hawk before you then move on to proper fast jets, which is the same for the Diamond. And I don't know, maybe it's going to surprise us and be really, really nimble and really, really quick and agile.
Yeah.
But
It's definitely going to be interesting to see. But also, it's good because he's showing people that you don't have to be in the RAF to fly things, and you don't have to be in the RAF to be a display pilot. As long as you can fly it and you can get authorization for it, you can display in your own aircraft. Like we've spoken about with some people, was it Team Raven?
Team Raven was one of them.
Well, there's a couple of the pilots in there that have come into it through building their own aircraft and just fallen in love with displaying. So it shows that even if you can't get into the RAF, you can get into flying in some form, obviously medical and financial permitting, because it's not the cheapest to do, but there's ways to get into it.
100%. It's that sort of idea that you don't have to have this cool all singing, all dancing extra 300 to go and do displays.
Yeah.
He's simply taken his Diamond DA42 and be like, I'm going to go take this to the airshow scene.
Yeah.
Confirm for a couple of smaller airshows and be like, let's show you what it can do. And ultimately, I have no idea what it can do. So for me, it's a very unique aircraft to see both at Old Buckingham and at Midlands Air Festival, to see what the displays can be like.
Definitely. And it's always nice to see someone who can be a role model for those who might not want to go into the RAF and have to do operations aboard, and who just want to go and display something they love, even if it's not a fast jet, just something that they love flying and can afford to fly.
Yeah, 100%. Speaking of RAF, the RAF and the Royal Air Force, Old Buckingham also had some RAF participants announced as well.
Yeah, so they had the Falcons, which we've briefly mentioned in a previous podcast, which it's always nice to see them. It's a nice opener or closer to an airshow, I think.
It's a nice change of pace as well, isn't it?
Exactly. And the things they can do when they jump out the parachute actually looks really mesmerising. You don't think it's as mesmerising as you think when you hear someone say parachute is just jumping out of the plane.
Yeah.
And then obviously we also have the BBF Dakota on the Sunday only, and the Spitfire, which is Saturday only, which we've spoken about both in previous podcasts as well.
But it's always nice to have those sort of aircraft at the shows as well. It's nice
Definitely.
to see the BBMF supporting the smaller shows. And it's also nice that Dakota seems to be getting about a lot of different places this year. Because me and Chloe had the privilege of going to RAF Coningsby over the last couple of weeks. And we actually got to see the current Dakota pilots that will be flying over this display season pass their Dakota training. So they're now going to be full-time pilots for it. And it's a really nice aircraft. Just even though we saw it didn't actually display and do any practices, it was doing circuits and landing and bailed engine approaches, etc.
Yeah.
And it's one just beautiful aircraft. So to see it at so many shows this year, and it's going to be supporting the main role of the Battle of Britain Memorial flight this year in that really striking colour scheme that we talked about last episode as well.
Definitely.
Brilliant, lovely.
It is. And the photos you can get from it is absolutely beautiful, and the sound of it in the sky, it's so nice to have it back on the circuit.
Yeah, 100%. I think from one smaller air show, we can hop to another, with Headcorn being obviously one of the new air shows on the circuit that we talked about this year. They have announced 2 historical aircraft
Yes.
for their flying display. One being the Seafire, which you still didn't get a point for getting it as a Spitfire at RIAT, Harry, and I'm going to keep reminding you every time it comes up.
Yeah, well,
And that's also now I can do that because I've also got a point. So
yeah. So stalemate. Yeah. So leading on with Headcorn, their first one they've announced is the Fokker D7. This is which will be provided by Jasta Binks Aviation. This is the only flying Fokker D7 in the UK. It was built from scratch over a period of 15 years, and it is 15 years. Well, I mean, considering this stuff's not cheap, and considering how old it is,
long period, isn't it?
Yeah, but just the fact that they were able to get one, well, they managed to build one from scratch, make it, and also make it fly, which is also even more impressive. Yes, but this full scale World War One replica will be wearing the personal marks of German flying ace Lieutenant Rudolf Stark, and I have a bit of information on this gentleman. He was a World War One flying ace, credited with 11 confirmed kills and 5 unconfirmed aerial victories. Born on 11th February 1897 in Nuremberg an der Donau. I do apologise for butchering that German, but that is in the state of in what was then the Kingdom of Bavaria, which is now the state of Bavaria in Germany. He was so long. He was a very good. His scheme was it's quite unusual. You see a lot of the traditional the German camo. They would, if anyone knows what the German camo was in World War One, then you'll have an idea. But it also had stripes of pink across the livery as well, which actually I actually find complement the camo really well for some reason.
Yeah, it's a weird colour scheme, but at the same time, it seems to have worked.
Yes, it does work. He was He was one who actually, just another fun fact about him, that he did actually survive the war, unlike the more famous Manfred von Richthofen, the Red Baron. He passed away in 1982.
Oh, it's a pretty good age, man.
Yes, yeah, a pretty good age, and just the fact that he was able to survive in what was pretty much, in terms of the grand scheme of technology, very much in its infancy. Not quite in its infancy, but very not compared to modern aircraft. Like, these are things still made of wood and everything else like that. So yeah, it's honestly really impressive, and it would be really nice to see this scheme, this paint scheme at Headcorn. And also, I very much love historical aircraft, so I look forward to seeing this fly. Also announced from Headcorn, moving on to another one, is the Supermarine nearly said it. The Supermarine Seafire.
You're already getting this. I'm trying to get another point again.
Yeah, the temptation to say Spitfire. It just comes natural. This has been operated and flown by Navy Wings. This particular model, which is Seafire. I don't know my Roman numerals. The Seafire Mark 17, serial number SX336. This was built in West Lineal in April of 1946, so just after the war, and was rebuilt by Kennet Aviation at North Wales nearly 60 years later. She entered service with the Royal Navy in 1946 in Warwickshire. In 1953, she was transferred to Royal RNAS Stretton near Warrington and held in storage before it was decided that she was going to be, she was going to be scrapped in 1955. But as we probably all can see, she made it. It was found in, the reason why it took so long to be restored is because it was found in 1973 that her fuselage was in a derelict state, and which postponed her restoration for another 5 years, starting in 1978, and was restored over time, changing ownership hands, but then was finally able to obtain a certificate of airworthiness in 2003 and conducted her first post-restoration flight in 2006. And she flies in the markings of the 767 Naval Air Squadron, and is no stranger to air wings. And this particular aircraft has been affiliated with them since she was restored.
So a lot of history behind the aircraft, and
oh yes,
it's nice to see a Seafire because it's the only one that I can think of that's flying within the UK. I don't know about outside of the UK, but yeah, it's a really, really rare aircraft that we get to see here. And it's also very recently gone through an engine restorement as well to get it back to in the air. And I think this is the first year it's back in the flying display, I believe, or it might have been the end of last year that it first got up. But yeah, very recently they had to replace the engine on it. So it's nice to see it back in the air at multiple shows this year, including the headphone.
Oh yes, no, it's very good. And just a few additional of a bit of history, just of where some people are wondering like where this, well, not this particular aircraft, but where the Seafire was primarily used. Obviously, it's the naval version of the Spitfire. There we go. I can say it now. Say Spitfire. It's obviously designed for carrier-based combat. First used was developed between 1941 and 1942. The first combat use was during Operation Torch in November of 1942, when the Allies landed in North Africa, very much in Tunisia, fighting against the Vichy French.
Yeah.
Then the Seafire was also then used in July of 1943 to provide air cover for the Allied invasion of Sicily, and reprised the same role in later in that September during the Allied invasion of Italy. Also served in other operation was Operation Dragoon, the invasion of southern France, as well as Operation Overlord in Normandy. And then during the latter half of 1944, it became a critical component of the British Pacific Fleet, and was actually a very capable interceptor against kamikaze attacks by Japanese Zeros and other Japanese aircraft. So it turned out to be a very capable fighter against that. It continued, and then it was finally withdrawn from service. Not just before that, it served in Korea, mainly patrolling ground attack and combat air patrols against North Korean forces, until it was finally retired in the same decade.
So long-lasting history as well.
Yes, and obviously it's the naval version of the Spitfire. The Spitfire will never die.
No,
not as long as there are people that care passionately about its history and the need to preserve it.
Yeah, and speaking of history and the need to preserve it, Duxford Summer Airshow have announced some assets that they're going to be having for their shows. They've actually been quiet for quite a long time for their airshow since we got sort of the Flying Bull stuff. Kind of went quiet. And now we do have some more aircraft that will be taking part in the Summer Airshow. So their OV-10 Bronco will be taken to the skies. So this is not the first time we're going to see the Bronco in the UK this year, as it's meant to be attending Midlands as well. Also, they've announced the P-47 Nelly B, also the Piper NE-1 Little Blue Cloud, which we've already talked about being on the Saturday display at RIAT as well this year. I believe that the Little Blue Cloud will be taking part in the flying display, however, though, at Duxford. So keep an eye out for that. And finally, the Aero Superbatic Wingwalkers will be taken to the skies over Duxford as well this year as part of their flying display, which is starting now to pick up, which is nice because we've kind of had a quiet period where Duxford haven't announced anything. You know, we've had rumours of self-confirmations, etc. So, like the Avaranson Mark 1 from Czechoslovakia RAF station, where they said that they were going to be bringing that for their Battle of Britain show. There's the French-based Elise, which has said that it's going to be coming for both Battle of Britain and the Summer Air Show, but again, yet to be announced by Duxford, which is it's just a nice combination of multiple different aircraft. The Aero Superbatic Wingwalkers, though, is one that I'm going to focus on for this one, because we got a heck of a lot of information while sort of planning for this podcast and looking forward. They have lots of very, very experienced pilots that fly their aircraft. Now, obviously, for displays, they normally fly as two.
Yes.
But from their website, they've got 5 current pilots, I believe, that are flying their Boeing Stearman aircraft as part of the wingwalking teams.
And included in one of those is the founder and CEO of the Aero Superbatics team, who started it in 1987. But he's been flying since he was 17, where he started his display flying in 1982, initially in the high-performance Slin 50 aircraft, prior to starting the windwalking display team. And he is currently also a display authorization evaluator for the CAA, as well as an honorary air Commodore for 614 Squadron, as well as an ambassador for the RAF Association and member of the Royal Air Squadron.
So basically someone with absolutely no free time then?
Yes, that's correct. And he was also part of one of the first, alongside Mike, they were the first two involved as one of the first teams ever to visit and display in China.
So lots of history then across them.
Definitely.
Aero Superbatic Wingwalkers have been around for a while, haven't they? Because they've kind of been multiple different display teams. Well, they haven't been multiple different display teams. They've had multiple different sponsors that have made them look like multiple different display teams. So I first remember seeing the Aero Superbatic Wingwalkers as a child when it was the Utterly Butterly team. But prior to that, they were also a Cadbury sponsored team as well.
Yeah, specifically the Crunchy. They were called the Cadbury's Crunchy Flying Circus.
And then from there, they went to the Utterly Butterly. Then they became Team Gwynot. And then they were the Breitling Wingwalkers for a really long time. For as far as I can remember, they were probably at least 5 or 10 years, the Breitling Wingwalkers. And now they just fly under Aero Superbatics. I believe they don't. Do they have a sponsor at the moment?
The last time we saw them, they had the new NUI ice cream.
Oh,
brand
yeah,
on
the
them.
Newy, yeah.
I can never remember how to pronounce them.
But yeah, no, they've been around for ages, and obviously they fly the Boeing Stearmans, which are one of my favourite sounding aircraft with their radial engines.
Yeah.
That just iconic sound that those radial engines make are brilliant.
Because it's one of the displays that makes me the most nervous, because ironically I have a fear of heights. So when I see people standing on top of planes doing rolls and loops and stall turns and stuff, it makes me so nervous.
Yeah, fair play to the women that go on top of the aircraft for those displays, because they are just genuinely like mental.
I'd never be able to do it.
I think I could do it once, but I could not do it as a career and constantly doing it over and over again on top of the aircraft, because God, it must hurt being getting hit by a fly at that altitude at 150 miles an hour. God. But yeah, no, like they're honestly they're a staple basically of British air shows, and it's always nice to see them about, because they're not just obviously going to be at Duxford, as Hampshire Air Festival have also announced that they're going to be at Hampshire Air Festival as well. So that'd be a good thing to see alongside all the assets that Hampshire Air Festival have got there. But yeah, really cool history. Like, we'll probably talk about if they get announced at some other shows later down the line, some of the other pilots, because again, there's so much history behind the team, and I definitely recommend going and looking on their website and seeing what their pilots are from, because there is so much history behind some of the pilots of the team. Like, genuinely, the sheet of notes that we have made on these pilots, I kid you not, is over a side of A4 of just facts and stuff from these pilots, which we could probably do an entire podcast about the Aero Superbatic Wingwalkers. So if you are interested in coming on and explain all your history, guys, feel free to come on, and we'd be happy to have you on a podcast and talk about all the amazing stuff that you guys have been a part of. But there's some of the most experienced pilots out there, up there with like Team Raven, I think.
Yeah. So much history behind them, and it's so varied as well.
Yes.
Have some that have been in part of the RAF, some that just got into it because they love aviation and formation flying and just display flying and building their own aircraft as well.
Yeah, it's really, really cool. And I'm really, really glad to see that they are back on the airshow scene this year, and going to both Hampshire Air Festival and Duxford.
Definitely one that makes you nervous, but at the same time you can't take your eyes off of them.
Agreed. I think this is finally, or second to finally, we have penultimately, yes. Thank you, Harry. We have the Shuttleworth shows, obviously, because we seem to talk about Shuttleworth all the time on this podcast with their 50 million different air shows, and they have announced 2 aircraft.
Noticed.
We will be seeing over 3 different shows, which is their Hurricane, well, not their Hurricane, but a Hurricane Mark 12 and a Nimrod Mark 2. The Mark 12 will be at the season premiere show and the Festival of Flight. The Hawk and Nimrod will be at the Wings and Wheels and also the Festival of Flight, which, by the way, the Festival of Flight, in terms of that, they've also got Team Raven as well, which, again, team we've already talked about. That is looking to be one brilliant little air show.
They've got so much this year for it.
It's not just like so much of the same as well, isn't it? It's a really diverse flying lineup of different aircraft. You know, you've got Team Raven, which is the biggest civilian formation display team in the world. Yeah. You've got Melanie in her Extra 330, is it?
I'm sure.
Or Extra 300. who will be wowing the crowd from that. We have the Flying Bull's rare to be seen aircraft. We have, staples of early war / mid World War II RAF assets like the Nimrod and the Hawker Hurricane, plus all of their aircraft as well that are part of their collection.
Yeah.
So, what a flying display that we're getting from the Festival of Flight. And if anyone has not been to a airshow before at Shuttleworth, really recommend going. And that'd probably be one I'd say that I'd recommend getting from, because it's not just a midday show. The show actually opens at about 9 a.m. in the morning, and they even have an evening slot that goes all the way till about 8 o'clock at night, and then the showground closes at 9.
9 o'clock, yeah.
So you've got this whole afternoon of flying, plus then an evening slot in evening gold light.
Plus a range of things to do. Like, I've just looked on the website now, and they have simulators, fun fair rides, stunt shows, parades, interactive discovery shows, plus Shuttleworth House will be open and the Swiss Garden will be open as well.
So much, so much to go see.
Definitely a lot to keep the kids entertained.
Yes.
In between acts getting set up.
100%. Really, really recommend going down to Shuttleworth.
And the gardens are gorgeous as well. They post a lot on their Instagram and it just looks so beautiful. And they've got peacocks roaming the garden as well.
Oh.
They keep posting a picture of a peacock on it.
I think it's one of the shows that you've definitely got to do as an aviation enthusiast. And we are looking at least one of the Shuttleworth shows this year, if not multiple.
Definitely.
Because there is just so much to go see. And yeah. Is it my correct to say Rich Goodwin might be at one of the Shuttleworth shows this year as well?
Yeah, he's at the Wings and Wheels one.
Also the Wings and Wheels show.
And I think there might be another one, but I can't remember which one. There's that many shows, I can't remember which has been announced for what.
So yeah, go have a look at the Shuttleworth stuff. Go to their website, because they've got so many different shows, and so many different shows for different people as well. So you can have a smaller, more laid-back show, and have a look around the collection. You can go to one of the bigger shows like the Festival of Flight or their Summer Air Show, and go and see a wide variety of aircraft plus their collection aircraft. So 100% go check out Shuttleworth. It's worth the while.
Definitely.
And finally, Midlands Air Festival. They've somehow made it all the way to the end of this podcast because there's been so much to talk about.
Yeah.
Otherwise. As previously mentioned, they've got the Diamond DA42, and they also announced as of this morning their final display act.
One of my favourites as well.
Sally BB-17 will be flying on both Saturday and Sunday of the show, which will be rounding up their brilliant lineup of aircraft. And what a lineup of aircraft that they have got.
And you almost forgot Sally B as well to list until I reminded you, which is blasphemous. You can't forget Sally B.
So, yeah, Midlands Air Festival is one of the first shows of the season. It falls always on that bank holiday May weekend. And just to walk you through what's going to be one of their flying displays, just to intrigue you if you haven't got your tickets, because they are nearly sold out. So this is reading for the Saturday, the 30th of May. You have the Red Arrows, the Battle of Britain Memorial Flight with their Dakota, Hurricane and Spitfire, the Royal Air Force Falcons, the OV-10 Bronco, the P-51 Mustang Marinelle, the Catalina, the Stork Display Team, the X300S, the Rolls-Royce Heritage Flight Spitfire, the Sea King and Whirlwind roll demo from Historic Helicopters. We have the Gyro, the MiG-17 from Fubar Aviation. We have the Grumman Turbo Firecat, the Spartan 7W Executive, Team Raven, the Swordfish from Navy Wings, the Strikemaster Jet Pair, a Harvard, a Diamond DA42,
Sally B.
And Sally B. Wow.
And that's just the Saturday.
Yeah, that's just the Saturday. The Sunday, I believe, is exactly the same. The Friday has a few less acts. Again, if you want to go have a look on their website and have a look what they're going. But that is the first major, not the first major air show, because the first air show of the season is the Shuttleworth season premiere air show on the 10th of May.
Yes.
But then from basically the Midlands Air Festival, it's an air show every week.
Yeah.
And yeah, really, really looking forward to.
Plenty to get to, plenty to see and do. Most air shows these days are things that can entertain the kids if they're starting to annoy you while you're trying to watch aircraft. Just send them on a ride for like 10 minutes and.
Yes. And you also, with Midlands, you've got all the hot air balloon stuff. So
Yeah.
if we get low enough winds on the Saturday night and also the Friday, they do the balloon light show plus then setting all the hot air balloons off.
Which have a wide variety of, because there's some air balloons, I think, who even came up with the idea to make that as a balloon.
Yes. So.
Like the screwdriver one.
Yes. So, yeah, really looking forward to the Airshow season now. We're nearly there. You know, in less than a month's time, it's the season premiere show for Shuttleworth. In, 6 weeks' time, it's Midlands Air Festival. And then from there, 2 weeks after that, you've got Cosford, you've got another Shuttleworth show, you've got Duxford, RIAT. It's just going to come thick and fast. And really, really looking forward to this Airshow season because in a world where there's lots of doom and gloom, the one thing that keeps me going especially is all these aircraft announcements, what we're going to see over the summer, what airshows should be booked to go to. Oh, wow, look, there's a MiG-17 here. Oh, wow, look, there's an F4 Phantom here. Oh, wow, look, there's a really rare executive plane in the Spartan, which there's only like a certain number, tiny number were made or still flying. And yeah, I'm really looking forward to this airshow season. I know you are, Harry. I know you are, Chloe.
Definitely. I've got countdowns on my phone ready.
I'm
I
very
also know,
much
Harry,
forward
you're
to
looking
it.
forward to all
Mig.
the MiGs. So yeah, I hope you're all listening to this, looking forward to the airshow season as well. Fingers crossed everything goes well. Fingers crossed for nice weather. Touch wood. And I've just been hit on the head.
Well done.
Touch wood. But yeah, no, it's going to be a good airshow season. Fingers crossed for some more updates coming through. We're obviously going to have airshow previews and airshow reviews, etc., coming out. And also, we've still got at least another 10 RIAT updates. So
Yeah.
we've got a lot more to come. A lot more to come. Thank you, everyone, for listening to these podcasts. The support on them recently has been brilliant, and we are growing in numbers every day. I think we've got nearly a total streams of 300 streams total on Spotify, which is just, I don't know why, it's more than I ever thought we'd get. I mean, it's just 3 plane enthusiasts rambling about airshows and what's going to airshows and planes.
Yeah.
And yeah, the fact that I know 300 views to some people is not a lot, but that to us is amazing that many people have decided to listen to our podcast, listen to us talk, when none of us like the sound of our own voice when we listen back to things.
To all those listening, you've actually chosen to listen to three random people just mutter on about planes on the internet, and we thank you for it.
Yeah, thank you very much for that. Like I said, if
Otherwise you're just crazy.
So if you want to
no.
speak to any of us, you use our social media platforms, follow us on. I think we're on Instagram. We're on TikTok now.
Yeah.
We're down with the kids and everything with TikToks.
Never say that again, ever. and that is staying in. You never say that again, ever.
So go follow us on any social media platform. I think we're on most of them now, bar like X. So go follow us on all of those things. Get involved in the discussion. Leave us a comment. We're always happy to reply to comments. If you've got a theory, an idea, or anything, please just send us a comment. We're more than happy to hear your opinions. And yeah, really can't wait for this airshow season now.
And as we get closer, we're hoping to do a couple of polls to see what your favourite for each airshow is as well.
Yes, that's going to be good. So thank you for listening. We have been the Airshow Room. See you in the next episode. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.